Hello, how y'all doing today? Exactly not very long for Halloween. Exactly what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days away from Halloween. What if I tell you the guy was so evil, so diabolical, so evil that he inspired the legend of Boogeyman and everything? That's Albert Fish, the first American serial killer. Born, on May 19th, 1870, to Rutherford, he was born in Ireland. Fisher's father was American of English ancestry, and his mother was a Scottish American. The first born American serial killer, raped kids, rapists, molested, and cannibalized who committed it. Albert Fisher, this guy right here, looked like a normal guy, but he was one of the worst serial killers in U.S. history. Basically, he was inspired the legend of Boogeyman. In a way, he is a real life Boogeyman and everything. First American serial killer in the United States. Kind of weird, ain't it? Because he was born in Washington, D.C. A D.C. serial killer. Shocking, ain't it? Where all the corruption happened at. The first American serial killer was born where all the corruption happened. Yeah, you notice I got to reshave him right up here again. I got to reshave it. Yeah. Oh well. But I digress. Let's get into the video, shall we? We shall. Yeah, Albert Fish was the first American-born serial killer in the United States of America. And was born in Washington, D.C. So, yeah, you know there's a lot of crime happening in D.C. So, yeah, it makes common sense right there. The first killer that ever run in the United States was born in the most corrupted county in the world. In the most corrupted state in the United States, D.C. Oh, let's get to the video, shall we? I just gotta wait for it to load up. It's so slow. It's so slow. Don't know why it's so slow. It's so slowly. It's loading slowly. But here we go. Mama Marita, Amarita, da 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 da. It's slower than HughesNet in True Vista. God damn. You see, I got my Iron Maiden poster. Got my race car stuff right there. So yeah. It's coming along nicely. Got the fishing right there. Got, Mr. Tracy in the background right there. Looking out the window. So yeah. This is scare everybody. Anyway. Anyway. He's responsible for a lot of shit. He's buried in an all-mount grave too. He's going to show you as well. Here we go.
For today's grim adventure, we find ourselves in Flushing Cemetery in Queens, New York. It's a rainy day, and today we're going to be visiting the final resting place and telling the story of a maniac that goes by the name of Albert Fish. If you are familiar with true crime, then chances are you've heard the name Albert Fish before. If not, he was also known as the Gray Man, the Werewolf of Wisteria, the Brooklyn Vampire, the Moon Maniac, and some even called him the Boogeyman. I'm going to tell you right now, the grave of Albert Fish is unmarked. And depending on who you talk to, depending on what you read, some say that Albert Fish's final resting place is in Sing Sing prison, the cemetery there after his execution. And some things that you read will tell you that he's buried here in Flushing Cemetery. We did our best at tracking him down, and we found him. He's actually buried here in Flushing Cemetery. I called Sing Sing prison to try and confirm if they had, one, a prison cemetery, and two, if Albert Fish was there, and it was kind of met with a dead end. So then I called Flushing Cemetery, and I gave them his birth name, Hamilton Howard Fish, and they couldn't find him. Almost gave up hope, and then I said, wait a second, maybe he is buried underneath Albert Fish. They found him instantly. Buried in section KPC, grave 684, in an unmarked grave. Throughout this video, we're going to talk about Albert Fish and his crimes and what he did. But since we're going up to his grave right now, he died at the age of 65 in prison. He was electrocuted in Sing Sing prison. And the rumor is the electrocution didn't go too well. In fact, that it took a couple different jolts. Because supposedly, rumor is that the electric chair kind of shorted out because over the course of Albert Fish's life, he inserted a whole bunch of sewing needles and pins into his groin. There's even an x-ray of his groin with all these needles inserted into his body. By our estimates, section KPC, grave 684, the unmarked final resting place of Albert Fish, is pretty much right where Jessica's standing right now. I mean, this is basically in the back of the cemetery, the furthest point from the entrance. Can you imagine living here and like right across the street from this place right here?
If I knew that he was here, knowing what I know now, it would haunt me. I don't think I could. Albert Fish enjoyed torturing and being a cannibal, but his victims were children. And his crimes were so deranged, so perverse, that at his trial, there was a handful of doctors and psychiatrists trying to pin down whether he was clinically insane or just extremely messed up. So much so that they read off a list of what they labeled were his sexual fetishes, and there's about 15 of them. Some of them I had trouble pronouncing. Some of them you may know, things like sadism and masochism, flagellation, exhibitionism, voyeurism, picarism, cannibalism, coprophagia, urophilia, hematolagnia, pedophilia, necrophilia, and infubulation. I don't recall if he was ever determined to be clinically insane at his trial. You can't execute a man or persons if you're considered mentally disabled or mentally insane in any fashion. And the jurors found him to be such a monster that they said they thought he was insane, but he deserved to be executed. Now, keep in mind, this is 1935, so their depiction of insane might not have been clinically insane, but he was so out of his mind insane that he deserved to be executed.
Now, upon further research into what they were saying about him, there's one thing that really disturbed you when you found out the meaning of one of those words, wasn't it?
Yeah. They're two separate things, and it has to do with the ingestion of body fluids. They have their own names.
So he would consume body fluids.
He would consume human waste, yes. His own, sometimes that of younger boys. Yeah. My apologies. We do try to approach these very respectfully. The detail with which Albert wrote about his crimes is extremely horrific, and we will not go into that during this video. If you would like to do so yourself, you can read it online during his Wikipedia. But in having read several accounts of his crimes against these beautiful little souls, it can be a little disturbing. He may be one of the more horrible serial killers in history.
Back in the early days of the Grim Life Collective, when I was growing up, and I was just learning about true crime and looking into true crime, Albert Fish is one of the first people that I encountered, because there's nobody like him before or after. And up until doing research for this video, didn't really know all the details about Albert Fish's case and what he did. One thing that really stuck out to me, though, whenever I was a kid, like a teenager, first finding out about him, they would tell stories, like they called him the werewolf of Wisteria. And one of the reasons being, in his old age, he used to, during full moon, take off all his clothes and go out into the woods and run around and bark at the moon like a werewolf. So he had a lot of really messed up things about him. And the murder that really brought it all to an end was the murder of a little girl by the name of Grace Budd. And now we're going to tell you her story. New York City, 1928. Albert Fish shows up at the Budd residence looking to hire somebody. He answers an ad in the newspaper of one of the family members looking for farm work, if you will. And Albert Fish knocks on the door. He goes in, he talks to the family, and he tells them that he has a farm on Long Island. But he doesn't tell them the truth. He's looking to murder somebody. Albert Fish agrees to hire the family member that puts out the ad in the newspaper, and he promises him that he'll be back soon to take him to the farm on Long Island. But when he does return, he comes face to face with a 10-year-old girl named Grace Budd. Ultimately, the murder of Grace Budd is how Albert Fish was caught. After spending time with the Budd family, he convinced them that he was a harmless old man, and he took Grace Budd, 10-year-old Grace Budd, to his niece's birthday party. But here's the thing. There was no birthday party, and there was no niece. But the Budd family didn't know this.
Grace Budd would go missing that year in 1928. No one saw her or the old man that she left with to go to a birthday party. So 6 years later, in 1934, they received a letter that shook them.
Even though Albert Fish doesn't name himself in the letter, he goes into pretty graphic detail and some details that nobody would know except for him and the Grace family. He tells in the letter how he showed up at the Budd family house, how he met Grace Budd, how he had her sit on his lap and they ate strawberries together, and how he took her to a birthday party, and how he brought her up to an abandoned cottage up in the mountains in upstate New York and took 9 days of dismembering her and eating her. Well, that cottage is still here today, down this road. Now, you said that this isn't the only letter that he wrote that was disturbing in the eyes of, well, the world.
During his trial, or rather at the end of his trial, his lawyer told the press that he had written a very long letter, but it was so perverse, so foul, just so evil, that he was never going to let its contents be released.
We're almost to the house. This big white house on the left-hand side of the road. And there it is. Looking pretty much exactly as it did back in 1928 whenever Albert Fish brought 10-year-old Grace Budd here. Now, of course, We can't get on the property. But we do have pictures that we can kind of line up that shows what the house used to look like back then. This is pretty wild to be standing here, isn't it?
It took a lot to get here.
Definitely one of those deep dive true crime spots. The first picture that we're going to show you was taken from right about here, looking at the house from the angle, right at the entrance to the driveway. Back then, there was a lot more trees. There's a couple different photos that were taken from this end of the house where you can see those windows and that chimney up there. See what I mean? It really hasn't changed. This next photo is really neat, but we're not going to be able to line up shots because it is on the property in the back of the house facing where I'm standing right now. Now, you see up there on the hillside how there's all those different rocks and it's just basically a backyard up in the woods. There's a photo of people up there searching the crime scene, and there's a picture. The picture actually shows down pretty much where I'm standing. The last photo I'm going to show you guys is probably my favorite of the crime scene. It was taken from about this angle right here. You see the house. Now, also in this photo, you're going to see two people standing down there by that trash can in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. Now, you can't see it in the photo, but there's a road, and that's this road right here. And if I back up, just behind Jessica in this wall, in the photo, there were two people, two guys, I'm guessing detectives, going through clothes and a doll behind an old car. And it's across the street if you look at the picture real closely. Pretty wild. Sometimes whenever you visit true crime locations, locals really don't like looky-loos coming by, standing out, taking pictures, and drudging up old history. But something very interesting happened. One of the locals drove by and he was asking what we were doing, and it wasn't mean about it or anything like that. We told him we're here because of this house and we document true crime, and a smile came on his face. He had a lot of information. He told us that the house is for sale, and he said not many people here in this area know the history of this place. It happened so long ago, and that it was nice that we're documenting it and keeping history alive.
Wherever I go, bad luck is coming my way. Wherever I go, hard luck is that it stays. Good luck never stays a day. A bad luck's always coming my way.